Good morning, everyone, and happy Monday. It's a beautiful day here in California, nice and sunny. Mac just came on over to join me here. You guys won't be able to see him because he's right in front of where I'm filming. But it is a gorgeous day. We did get some rain over the weekend, so hopefully you all are, hold on just a second here. There we go. Hopefully you all are getting some nice warm weather where you're at. Hopefully we're finishing up the snowy weather for the northern gardeners. Here in California, I think it's going to be about 75 degrees today, and we are slated for some beautiful weather this week. So I hope you all are able to get out in your gardens, and if not, are growing something indoors and enjoying starting your seeds inside. Hopefully you all were able to catch our video last night on watering and fertilizing your indoor seedlings. And today we're going to talk about some common mistakes that people make, because if you're like me, I have made lots of mistakes with watering and fertilizing my seedlings, have killed a lot of seedlings because of it, and we want to try and avoid all of these mistakes and have healthy plants to put out in the garden, because that can really affect the health of our plants. So before we get started on the tips for today, I want to say hello to those of you here in the chat. It is an amazing thing to be here early in the chat. I try and get here 15 minutes early every week. We live stream at noon Pacific time every Monday. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. I hope you'll come back again. We have a great group here. So let's see who's here. We have Lori from New York. We're at 61 today. Wow. I bet that feels great in New York. It will be 12 degrees this weekend. Oh my goodness. You had better enjoy it while you can, right? Because it sounds like winter is making one last hurrah. Hi, Catherine Little Bear. How are you? I'm so glad you're here today. It's exciting that you are on your second gardening year, and I know it's going to be a great one. Patsella, oh, welcome from Oklahoma. Yes, Patsella I know is in Arizona, but she's saying welcome to Angela Lowe. Sister Marcel, down to 10, and okay, that's must be where you live. Rita from San Diego. Sharon, Luna Savage already has zucchini, which is incredible. Carol Jones is here. Rod is here from Baja, looking good. His Thai pepper is looking good in his Cali Kim Smart Pot. That is amazing. Angela's Garden Sense. Let's see who else is here. Nellykins, how are you? Stephen Hunt from Canada. Hopefully it's warming up in your neck of the woods. Captain Disney from Louisiana. So people here from all over the U.S. And oh, someone from Finland, Willie Mina. Hi, how are you? So we actually have people here from all over the world. Connie from Oregon. There's just a ton of you that are here week after week, and I really appreciate and value that you're spending some time here with me today out in the garden for our live stream. Wonderful garden support here. So let me just ask you guys to say a little, yes, I do too, if you've ever had any watering issues with your indoor seedlings. I think that is probably one of the areas, like we talked about on yesterday's video, where most gardeners, especially new gardeners, tend to get tripped up, tend to overlove our plants by having some watering issues. So today we're talking about 3 mistakes not to make when watering and fertilizing our plants. We're just going to take a little bit of a deeper dive right into that because, again, it is a big issue for a lot of people. Nicole's saying she drowns her seedlings and they die. Deborah has issues with it. Luz's hand is up. Rod, yes, and Rod is an experienced gardener, but he still does sometimes. I do too. Rita, under and over waters. Andrea, hello from Denmark. So definitely a lot of issues with watering. But before we do that, I just remembered, I want to read a very special viewer of the week this week. And this is actually from a DM I got on Instagram, and I asked this person if it was okay if I shared it. I was so touched by her message last night, and I think she's here today, which is really exciting. So this is from Nicole Horry. Congratulations, Nicole, on being viewer of the week. Say hello if you're here. I think I saw you in the early chat there. And she says, hello, Kim. It's Nicole here from Washington State. My daughter called me yesterday and asked me if I wanted to pick up something for my leap year birthday that I get this year. This will be my 11th leap year. So lucky you for only having a birthday 11 times. My daughter knows how much I like you and she hears me talk about you all the time. So she thought It's about time that her mama deserves to have something of Callie Kim. And guess what I chose? So I asked her back, what did you choose? Thank you so much for being so sweet. It is such an honor for me that you chose something of mine on my website for your birthday. And she chose my new book, With Your Spring Garden Collection. I can't wait to garden and grow along with you. So I am so thrilled, Nicole. I think you're here in the chat, and I am so excited for you to start your garden. First of all, I want to say happy birthday, which will be coming up, I think, at the end of the week. Happy birthday. Hope you have a great birthday and have a wonderful time. Thank you so much for starting your spring garden with my seeds and my book. And I know that you're going to be very, very successful and have a ton of harvests. So I also want to commend all of you out there who are getting going. Sometimes it takes a lot of work to get your garden going, keeping an eye on things. I know it's also a lot of fun, but I really want to commend and affirm you all out there who are doing the work, making it happen, helping your family be healthy by growing your own fresh organic vegetables. So happy birthday, Nicole, and thanks for sharing it, just a little bit of it with us here on the Callie Kim channel. Okay, so let's get into the 3 watering and fertilizing mistakes not to make when you're starting your seeds indoors. Now, the first one, and again, I think a lot of us have made this mistake. The first thing I wanted to say, sorry, I keep forgetting about things to say. The amount of water that you give your plants can really make or break it, especially when they're at that young seedling stage. So it is really worth your time to pay special attention to the watering tips so that your seedlings can become strong and healthy and get out in the garden and really grow some good vegetables. So what I would first of all recommend is to establish a routine. Now, you heard yesterday on the video that Joel saying that he checked his plants in the morning and in the evening. So that's one very important thing to do, is check your plants daily and establish a routine of when you check on them, so that it's just kind of part of your daily schedule. And that way you don't forget about them and have a lot of issues that crop up that are really hard to take care of. You want to prevent those issues from happening in the first place. So just incorporate a daily or twice daily check on your seedlings, and that way it helps you avoid some of the problems that come up. What I would suggest doing is have some type of a watering station in your house. Mine is very simply just by my kitchen sink. So pretty much what I do is in the morning when I get up, I check on my seedlings, which are usually, if you guys saw the grow light video, a lot of them are on my cabinet in my dining room, and then along the floor I have grow lights set up. So I'll check on them and bring whatever needs watering over to my kitchen sink where I have my supplies. So that's kind of a third thing, is have your supplies readily available. I keep a little watering pitcher under the kitchen sink along with my fertilizer, my Good Dirt plant food, and my little bottle of worm tea. And then I just kind of water everything right there at the sink. The water is readily available, the fertilizers, everything is right there when I need it. And just kind of let things sit there and soak up the water before I put them back under the grow lights. So if you establish a very simple routine like that, it doesn't have to be anything fancy, but that just helps if you have it easily available and easily to fit into your schedule. Excuse me. Okay, now to the first mistake that you don't want to make, and that is under watering. Okay, we all know what that's all about. When your plants get too dry, your little seedlings get too dry, the roots just don't have a strong enough root system yet developed, and it really stresses the plants out. So you really, again, do want to check on them daily. There's a lot of clues that we did talk about in yesterday's video, but one of them, of course, being the light brown soil. Now, this is a peat pellet I have not yet planted in. This is too dry. You do not want your plants to dry out to where they're completely dry, because that will, again, stress them out. They're going to start to wilt. The leaves will start to get brown and crispy. So you definitely want to water them before they get to this point. So you want the top of the soil to be a little light brown, but you still want to feel some moisture in your pellet. You don't want it to be hard and crusty like this one is here. Look how hard and dry that is. I mean, the soil is just absolutely dried out. And if there was a seedling in here, most likely it would be completely wilted over and very stressed out. So you don't want to let them completely dry out. So look for the light brown color of the soil, like we mentioned in yesterday's video. Look for the weight to be a little bit lighter. That's a clue that your plant, your little seedling, definitely does need some water. So take a look at those clues, and hopefully you'll be able to avoid underwatering your plants. And if you keep checking on them a couple times a day, that will really help you avoid underwatering. So first clue that you don't want to make is underwatering. So hopefully those tips will help you not to underwater your plants. And let's see what questions you've had. Let me know if you've had that experience as well, what tips you have to avoid underwatering. If you set an alarm on your phone a couple of times a day or a couple of times a week, whatever things you have, let's all figure out how to do this together. Okay, question. Let's see, where are we here? I saw Jack had a question. Okay, Jack, hi. At what outdoor temperature can I put out cool weather crops into a mini plastic greenhouse? Okay, Jack, I think I saw your question here on YouTube this week, or maybe it was on Instagram. But my recommendation to you is I've never grown in hard frost before, so I can't say for sure. I like to bring my plants indoors when it gets to be about down in the 40s or 30s at night. With the greenhouse, what you might want to do is just kind of experiment a little bit. You will have that little extra layer of protection, so that definitely should help. But I would experiment with 1 or 2 plants, see how things go, and then if you're successful with that, then you can of course gradually transition your plants to the outdoors. But just experiment and don't put all of them out at once. And of course, if it's going to be, down into a hard freeze, I would be very cautious about putting them out, because in a greenhouse, you don't have, unless it's a heated greenhouse, you just have 1 extra layer of protection. So it's not going to completely protect them from a hard freeze, like it would be obviously if you bring them indoors. Okay, Jessica, a question about watering. Does it matter what time of the day to water the seedlings? No, it really doesn't matter what time of the day. When you get your plants outdoors, the time of the day does matter. I like to water in the morning when it's a little bit cooler, so the plants can take up the water during the heat of the day. But inside, everything's, for the most part, pretty much temperature controlled, and you've got the control of the grow lights. So just check a couple of times a day, and it really doesn't matter what time of the day that you water, as long as you make sure to water. Okay, Laura, I love your comment. Make sure you have backups. Yes, very, very important. I actually had the advantage of planting backups when we did our video with Joel. I planted my original seedling tray here about a month ago, and then when we planted on last week's video, we planted together. I actually used that video as an excuse to plant my backup tray. So these are right here. These were planted a little over a week ago, and I'm really looking forward to some new growth on them. You can see they're already starting to come up just a little bit, but Joel actually has me beat in growth. So his are doing absolutely amazing. And if you saw the video yesterday, you saw the beautiful already true leaves coming out on his plant. So they're really, really looking good. I'm so proud of him. Okay, let's see here. Another question. Let's see, I love how people are jumping in to help Jack answer his question. That's wonderful. Cliff saying a simple plastic greenhouse won't hold much heat at night. And Stephanie, great question here. Do you fertilize every time you water or every other time? Okay, I would encourage you, Stephanie, to go back and watch the video yesterday about fertilizing. Maybe you already did, but what I mentioned in there is I usually like to fertilize my my indoor seedlings about once a week or so, and we're going to get more into fertilizing later on in the live stream. But I like to fertilize about once a week. You don't, again, want to over fertilize. So we'll get to that a little bit more in the live stream and give a few more details about that. Okay, all right, let me move on to the next mistake. And I think a lot of us are maybe more guilty of this one than the first mistake. And I know I for sure am. The second mistake you do not want to make with your plants is over watering. So I like to call this over loving your plants. I think a lot of people tend to over love our plants. Anything that goes wrong with my plant, I want to just pour some extra water on it to help, love it to death kind of thing. But over watering, believe it or not, can be just as difficult to fix or to just as dangerous for the plants as underwatering. And the reason for that is the roots of the plants need oxygen in order to grow, in order to thrive. When you overwater your plants, it really just kind of bogs them down. They can't get enough air, they can't get enough oxygen, and then the plants tend to just kind of wilt over. You might see some yellowing of the leaves. You might see the roots right at the stem, at the soil level. You might see the stem kind of getting mushy and brown and soft. You might see some mold developing on the top of the pellets or the top of the little seedling cup. And your plant is just not going to look very healthy. So right along with you guys, I am right there. I always have to resist the urge to overwater. So definitely something that's very difficult for your plant, or very difficult for your plant to recover from. However, if you're lucky, you can try and save your overwatered plant simply by helping your plant get some oxygen and air, letting the soil dry out a little bit. If it's warm enough, you might want to put them outside. I wouldn't recommend necessarily putting them in the hot sun, but just put them outside so they can get some airflow. One thing I actually did for this tray of pellets here, actually I have 2 trays of pellets, is they were growing so large that they were getting a little bit crowded in the tray. And I didn't bring both trays down with me here, but if you guys can't even see this, there was one little pepper plant, actually a couple little pepper plants that were to me starting to look a little like signs of overwatering. The leaves were a little bit pale. And see how this one here is a little bit yellowing? It was looking a little bit droopy. So I was kind of figuring that they weren't getting quite enough airflow. So I actually separated my one big tray into 2 big trays and spread the pellets apart, if you guys can see that, just so they were getting some more airflow. So a really good idea to help your pellets kind of recover from overwatering is to try that. You could also kind of loosen up things a little bit by squeezing your pellets here to kind of give them a little bit more air. You might even want to open up the bottoms just a bit to let the air get in, let the soil dry out. A sign of no, that's when the fertilizing part, never mind, we're gonna talk about that in just a moment. So if you have any mold or fuzz on the top of your soil, that's a sign of overwatering too. You could scrape that off. But basically you just want to let your plants kind of dry out. If things are really damaged, you might want to trim off those damaged leaves to help with that. But just basically let your plant dry out. If you have plants that are kind of rotted at the roots, I would recommend just pulling those plants out and getting rid of them. That way that fungus doesn't spread to other plants. So definitely need to avoid the urge, we all have that urge, to continually just pour water on our plants even when they don't need it. So again, pay attention to those clues that your plant actually does need water. When the top of the soil is a little bit dry, a little bit light brown, and when the pellet or the little container is lighter in weight. So a little bit of trial and error, you'll get to know your plants depending on the containers that they're growing in or the pellets they're growing in. You'll get to know how they feel when they need water, and then only water them at that point. And that will help you avoid that big overwatering mistake that most of us tend to make with our plants. Another thing I wanted to mention too, and we talked about this a little bit last week, is provide your plants, if you can, with enough airflow. Maybe a little small fan next to them that you turn off for a few hours and turn on and then turn off a few hours a day, maybe by a window where there's a little bit of a breeze. Try and spread them apart like a ceiling fan or something like that, just where they're getting the airflow blowing through to help just cut down on soil that's just sitting around and getting soggy. So you really want the tops of your plants to be moist, but not too soggy. I'm waiting for my basil to germinate here. I watered these from yesterday's video. You guys saw in yesterday's video how I let mine dry out a little bit too much, so I hope it doesn't stress them out. But see how the soil is a nice dark brown? It's moist, but it's not soggy. So don't let them just sit in water. When you water them, as we showed in yesterday's video, in the bottom of the tray, you want to make sure you pour that water out and not let them sit in that water all day so their feet or their roots aren't getting wet and staying wet all day long. So let me hear from you guys. What has helped you avoid the urge to overwater? What tips do you have for helping your plants recover from overwatering? I would love to hear from you as well. Okay, Mary Arredondo has a good comment here about watering. When bottom watering, I learned the hard way that my rake was not level and the back row of plants didn't get enough water. Make sure your flat is level. Okay, very good tip, Mary. So you might be watering and the front of your seedling tray is getting water, maybe the back is not. And so do make sure that either you're spinning your tray around, like Joel actually showed that good little tip yesterday. Spin your tray around if you're sitting on a countertop or a table that's not level, and that way each side of your tray is getting even distribution of water. So Mary, thank you very much for sharing that comment. Great suggestion. Okay, Sharon, hi. Hello, Kim. I tried something new this year. It's called winter sowing in milk jugs. What is your take on that? Sharon, I think that's great. I've seen a couple of YouTube videos on that, and people are having so much fun with it. And it's just a ball. If you're not familiar with winter sowing, look it up on YouTube. You guys will really enjoy seeing the videos. There's a little bird or something over in the corner that keeps moving around and catching my eye, so I was trying to figure out what it was. It's really fun to be out here and see all the life going on in the sunshine. So Sharon, yeah, go for it. I think it's a lot of fun. Basically what people do is cut milk jugs like in half, I think, maybe half the way around, and plant their little seedlings in that, and then put the top on the milk jug, put it outside, and then the seedlings germinate and they take the lid off and the seedlings just explode out of the milk jug. They're ready to plant in the garden once the frost is gone. It's like a little mini greenhouse. So have a great time with it. I think it's a wonderful way to get your seeds started. Absolutely go for it. Okay, Amy Frank, this is a question I've gotten actually several times this week, so thank you so much for bringing it up here. Amy's asking, how long does it usually take for pepper seeds to germinate? Amy, peppers, you have to be patient with them. It does take a little bit longer. I'd say a week to 2 weeks. The hot peppers actually take longer than the sweet peppers, but make sure that you're putting your peppers on a heat mat. They like that bottom heat. They really need a heat mat in order to germinate. They're very inexpensive. I think I have one in the link in this video description. I think maybe they're $12, maybe $15, but well worth the investment. So make sure you have them on a heat mat. They just don't tend to do well if they don't have that bottom heat. And be patient. They will germinate if you have them on a heat mat, and of course you're keeping them well watered. Okay, Alcani the farmer. If I overwater my plants, I usually wait a day or two depending on what soil I'm using, but I don't dry it out yet because I'm scared it will stunt the growth. Okay, you want to let it dry out, but not completely dry out. Not like, you know, this dry or anything. You just don't want to keep watering it if it's wet. Try and give it some airflow. So great suggestion there. Don't let it dry out too much, but definitely do let it dry out so you don't kill it, so you don't drown it. Okay, Rod, great tip here, Rod. Taking his peppers about 10 to 20 days, depending on the variety. And yes, the super hots take longer. Rod is a great pepper grower and he would know, so I definitely take his word for it and hang in there. Sometimes, guys, I don't know if you feel the same way, but waiting is the hardest part of gardening because we're so excited to grow our vegetables and have those beautiful, beautiful harvests. Okay, Clarice, they can still germinate without a heat mat. They just take a little bit more time. Mine took over 2 weeks, but they look fantastic now. So great, Clarice. Absolutely wonderful. I love how people here are trying so many different things. I know I used to actually put mine on top of the refrigerator to give the refrigerator tends to get off a little bit of extra warmth. So just try a very warm spot in your house, but I've had such great luck with the heat mat and it really does get them off to a great start, but do whatever works best for you. Okay, we're gonna go in here into the third mistake that you do not want to make when you're starting your seeds indoors. And then we should have some time left to run through a whole bunch of questions here in the chat. And Christy's making some comments here. I totally forgot that I did decide to go ahead and do a sale. I have a lot of these fall garden seed collections that I would love for you guys to be able to plant in your gardens. These, don't let these fool you. It says fall garden seed collection on here, but these are cool weather vegetables, which if you are in a northern climate, there's still plenty of time for you to grow cool weather vegetables. There's 15 varieties in here. There's things like the early wonder beets, there's broccoli, cauliflower, nasturtiums are a beautiful spring flower, kohlrabi, radishes, lettuce, arugula, collards, dill, another variety of lettuce, peas, cabbage, and spinach. So all cool weather vegetables, which you can plant early in the spring, and they will grow beautifully in northern climates. Where I'm running a sale on this, 40% off. So this is a really deep discount. We have a large inventory of these. I would rather have them in your hands than sitting upstairs in my seed shop. So 40% off with the code. Oh, what's the code? I think it's spring, right, Christy? With the code spring, you can get these at CallieKimGardeningHome.com under the seed collection tab, and the sale is going to run through Wednesday. So grab one of these and get some great cool weather vegetables started in your garden. 40% off, I think, averages out to about $1 a seed packet. So it's a really, really great deal. And the other great deal I have going right now, and this is going to be a permanent deal, is the Book and Spring Garden Seed Collection Bundle. You can save yourself $5. This is also under the Seed Collections tab. When you purchase the bundle, you'll save $5 over when you purchase them separately. So grab one of these, get your spring garden started, and grab a fall garden seed collection for 40% off. I think that's the biggest discount that I've ever had on my seed collections, and it's just on the fall garden. All right, guys, let's talk about mistake number 3 that you do not want to make. And this, again, a lot of people do this. It's very easy to do this mistake, is over fertilizing. So over fertilizing, again, can be a huge detriment to your plants. You can kill your plants by over fertilizing them. And you again, resist the urge to do that. But too much fertilizer can burn your plants, can burn the plant's roots, can cause yellowing of the leaves. Very similar symptoms to what you'd see in overwatering. A lot of times you might see white, kind of a white crust on the top of your little cups here or your pellets. Luckily mine don't have that. And you can kind of scrape that crust off. But over fertilizing can lead to like sudden plant growth, and then the roots just can't keep up with it, can't take up the water that it needs, and the plant possibly won't develop flowers, could get stunted, and could eventually die. So definitely resist the urge to fertilize your plants too much. So like we talked about in yesterday's video, you always want to go very easy with the fertilizer. A quarter strength is kind of a good rule of thumb to go by, and I do like to use organic fertilizers, especially with tiny little seedlings. You guys know my favorites. I love the worm tea, the Vermistera worm tea, because it's such a gentle fertilizer. And the worm tea, to my knowledge, I have never seen it burn my plants, even when I might overdo it a little bit. Because it is such a gentle fertilizer, it really is great for the seedlings because it helps with the root development. A lot of people ask me, how do I get such beautiful looking seedlings? And I really attribute it to the wonderful fertilizers I use. The worm tea is great for root development. The other thing I love to use is the Good Dirt plant food. It is higher in nitrogen, which helps things be nice and green and leafy. But again, quarter strength. What I like to do is just fertilize it once a week, and I do it at the same time I water. So kind of what I try and do is on Mondays, I try and check my plants to see if they need fertilizing. That's just kind of my routine. But if my plants are dry, then that's when I fertilize. So it's a water-soluble fertilizer, which is taken up immediately by the plants. And you don't need to schedule an extra fertilizing session in. You just kind of include your fertilizer in the water at the time where you would normally water your plants when they're dried out. So include it at that time, include it into your routine, and avoid the urge to fertilize just because your plants might be a little bit droopy. So again, don't overlove your plants. So to help if you have over fertilized your plant, to help it recover, what you can do again is scrape off that little crusty film that you might see on the top of your soil. You can remove the damaged leaves, but give it good airflow, help things circulate, and avoid the urge to fertilize until they need it again, which is hopefully in another week or so. So let me hear from you guys if you've had that issue with over fertilizing and over loving your plants. But again, go back and watch yesterday's video because we did give a lot of tips in there on how and when to water, how and when to fertilize, and then make sure you go back and watch the other spring garden series and watch the future ones because we're going to be putting it all together with containers, with some raised beds. We're going to be talking about how to transition your plants from indoors to outdoors. We're going to be getting them planted out in the containers and raised beds, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to do that entirely with Joel. You guys will get to see his garden from start to finish. And again, he's just a really fun guy. So I know that you guys will really enjoy it. Okay, let's see. A question from Clarice. Can over-fertilizing cause tiny black dots on the leaves? 2 of my 14 pea seedlings have tiny black dots, and I'm worried about what it could be. I have not seen that per se on peas. It's really hard to say without seeing a picture. It could be some type of a fungus or some type of a disease that might have attacked your peas. I would definitely plant backups. Peas grow so fast that even if it is an issue like that, that you'll have some more peas growing in absolutely no time. They're a wonderful, cool weather vegetable that is just so delicious to snack on them right out in the garden. Okay, excuse me there. It is warm out here today. So got to be drinking a lot of water. Okay, let's see here. Questions. I do have, Luz, a video on carrots and containers. If you have questions on that. Connie, great. Thank you for this. There are narrow heat mats at Amazon. Vivo Sun for $9.99. Perfect for a window ledge. That's great. Make use of every single little bit of space that you have. And I also have links in this video description on any seed starting supplies, grow light supplies, heat mats, all kinds of things that I have used with success in my own garden so that you guys don't waste your money on things that don't work. So check the video descriptions if you're looking for any of the things that I'm using in the videos. Okay, Joanne, great question here, and we're going to cover this in more depth in a few weeks. When in the process of acclimating plants, do they need to go back under grow lights when taken back in? Okay, yes, I do like to do that. If I'm leaving my plants, like I do have these right here, I'm actually hardening off outside this morning for a couple of hours, and then I'll bring them inside and put them under the grow lights again. And then tomorrow I'll extend the time they're outside, again, bring them back in, back under grow lights, until eventually, hopefully within a week or two, they're outside 24/7. So great question. It's a little bit of a process. You definitely don't want to rush that process. Okay, Etha, how about hard water versus soft water? Okay, I just use my tap water. Another thing you can do if you're concerned about the chlorine in the water or hard water versus soft water, I know if you let your water sit out for like 24 hours, helps the chlorine evaporate. But I don't worry too much about, you know, hard water versus soft water. I just use the water that comes out of my tap, and that seems to have worked very well for me. Okay, hello, good evening, Diana from the Netherlands here. Hi, Diana. Great to have you here. Have you had any problems with basil downy mildew? I have powdery mildew usually towards the end of the summer, but I haven't had too many issues with downy mildew. So if any of you do, let us know in the chat here what to do about that. Okay, Andrea, when do you start to fertilize seedlings? Should they have their first set of true leaves before starting? Okay, we also covered that in yesterday's video. And yes, I like them to be a few inches tall. These ones aren't quite ready to fertilize. They don't have any true leaves yet, but if you watched the video yesterday, you saw how Joel's had his true leaves already. And I like to start fertilizing once they get their true leaves, because up to that point, they really don't need any fertilizing. They have everything they need within the seed itself and the little baby leaves. But once they do start to grow those true leaves, you definitely need to start fertilizing them. And that way they have the nutrients that they need to keep on growing and to be nice and strong and healthy. And you can see here the results of my plants are the result of fertilizing them about once a week with the Vermistera worm tea and the Good Dirt plant food. And again, all those links are in the video description if you want to try those out. Now, Good Dirt is now in Target stores, which is super exciting. They have a fabulous line of plant food and potting mix. But they're so popular that I've gone to my local Targets a couple of times and they sell out really fast. So I'm not sure. I don't know if Target online sells it. I know you can grab it on their website and use CaliKim10 for a 10% discount, but check your local Target first, and that way you save on the shipping costs. Okay, Stephanie, some of my seedlings are much taller than others. Should I rearrange the flats or will they be okay? Stephanie, that's exactly what I did with this flat back here. I had 2 of them, and what I found is that my seedlings were getting so big that not only were they not getting enough airflow, but some of them were getting shaded out by the others. So just last night, I rearranged them all, and I'm hoping, and I'm sure it will help the smaller ones to grow a little bit larger to catch up with the other ones. So yeah, definitely make adjustments along the way. And as long as you are keeping an eye on things and checking them a couple times a day, that'll really help avoid some issues before they, before it, gets too out of hand. Okay, let's see a couple question in it. Oh, great suggestion, Cliff. If your potting soil already has fertilizer in it, hold off on adding more. So good point, Cliff. I appreciate you always coming in with your words of gardening wisdom. So yeah, you could even wait till your plants are, if you're already has fertilizer, a couple inches tall or so. And again, you don't want to overdo it. So Cliff, thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate that. Okay, let me see if there's any other questions here that we can answer. Okay, Darlene, closest Target is an hour and a half away, so not practical to go there. So you might want to check online or check on Amazon and see what other, see if you can find any of those things, any of the good dirt there. I know the vermistera you can grab at vermistera.com, and a little bit of the worm tea goes a long, long way. So, and a lot of times they do run specials on shipping. You can check on that and buy enough to last you the whole season. And I also have a discount code there. You can use CaliKim to get a 10% discount, and they are amazing. They have amazing customer service. Are any discounts available we can use to buy your seeds? I do have one today. I just mentioned earlier, 40% off on my fall garden seed collection. These are all cool weather vegetables that are great to plant in the early spring, especially in the northern climates. So use the code SPRING and you'll get 40% off of these through Wednesday. Okay, one more question here, guys. From Angela, where do you get your peat pellets? Mine only get 4 inches, but yours look taller. These are actually about 3 inches or so, I believe. These I grabbed on Amazon. Again, there's links for everything in my video descriptions. Anything I use in my videos, you can find, I pretty much get on Amazon because I don't like to go in the stores and shop. I just don't have time. So I buy almost everything on Amazon. So yeah, you can grab, these are great for larger size vegetables, and you can keep them in here without having to transplant them again into a larger container before you get them in the garden. So yeah, these large ones are very, very handy. So guys, I hope you have a great week. Make sure you join us on the weekend video. We are going to be showing you how to set up containers and drip irrigation in containers over in Joel's garden. So look forward to doing that. It's going to be a ton of fun. A lot of you have been asking me about container drip irrigation. So make sure you join us for the weekend video. And I really appreciate you spending time with me here today on this Monday morning in the garden. All right, guys, have a great time. Enjoy your week and happy gardening. Bye-bye.